Thank you everybody for joining us today. We are excited to have all of you be present for another great Changes webinar series that we're hosting. Today's session is titled From Assessment to Go Live, which is to accelerate SAP S/4HANA migration with AI-powered data mapping and cleansing. If your SAP migration feels like a slow climb, this session will show you how to fast track success using AI. And leading this session is Priya Sundarmurthy, a solution architect at Changes. With deep expertise in SAP, Oracle, and Microsoft migration, he's helped global teams reduce data risks by 80%, map faster, and go live with trusted data. He's helped global organizations fast track digital transformations by bringing precision and speed to their data strategy. And today, he's here to share that blueprint with all of you. So, without further ado, let's dive in. Priya, over to you.
Thank you, Mahek. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone joining us today from around the globe. My name is Priya Sundarmurthy. I'm a solution architect at Changes Corporation, and I'm leading the SAP practice for North America. I'm excited to welcome you to our webinar titled From Assessment to Go Live. So where we are going to discuss about how do we can accelerate SAP S/4HANA migration with the AI-powered data mapping and cleansing. So today objective is to understand how to assess, cleanse, and migrate enterprise data using automation, ensuring a faster, lower risk go live. So for next 30 minutes, we will unpack how a strategic data-centric approach can transform your migration into a seamless success. Whether you are migrating from SAP ECC or non-SAP legacy systems, this session will provide you with actionable strategies and a proven framework. Thank you for joining us today. Let's get started. So before we dive in, let me walk you through today's agenda. We'll begin with a quick introduction to set the context for our discussion and outline what you can expect from this session. Next, we will look at the S/4HANA migration roadmap, a step-by-step overview of the journey from legacy systems to a successful go-live in S/4HANA. In the third section, we will uncover the hidden risk in the SAP migrations. These are common pitfalls that often delay or derail the transformation projects, especially when it comes to data readiness. So from there, we will shift into a strategy with a focus on an assessment-driven migration approach and how aligning data evaluation early helps accelerate later stages. Then we will dive into AI-powered data mapping and cleansing. So here you will see how AI can dramatically reduce manual effort, improve accuracy, and ensure business-ready data. And finally, we will wrap up with a Q&A session where I'll take your questions and walk through any specifics you'd like to discuss further. With that, let's begin. Okay, so let's take a moment to understand why organizations are choosing to migrate to SAP S/4HANA and why this shift is more than just a technical upgrade. Very first thing, the most urgent reason is everybody is aware of it, right? SAP has officially announced the end of mainstream maintenance for SAP ECC by 2027, with the limited extensions to 2030 for selected customers under premium contracts. So what does this mean for you? After this deadline, you will face rising support cost, increased security and compliance risk, and you won't have access to SAP's latest innovations. So this makes migration not just strategic, but it is inevitable. It's not a question of whether should we migrate to S/4HANA, when to migrate to S/4HANA, right? And the second reason is the modern architecture of SAP S/4HANA. So unlike SAP ECC, which relied on thousands of aggregate and index tables, S4 uses a simplified data model, most notably the universal journal. So some of you might have heard about the AC Doka and other tables, right? So that replaces BSI, DBSAS, many index tables. So that eliminates the redundancies in the S/4HANA system. So this leads to a faster transactions, real-time reporting, and improved system performance. Finance, logistics, and inventory data all reside in a fewer tables, allowing your team to analyze and act instantly. The third one is a user experience. So S/4HANA comes with a SAP Fiori, a modern role-based interface designed for usability and mobility. Whether your users are on desktop or tablets or mobile phones, they'll benefit from a cleaner layout, better workflows, and tailored dashboards. This, of course, this boosts the productivity and user adoption as well. Right. So finally, S/4HANA is the gateway to digital transformation. It is, built to integrate with the next generation technologies like AI, machine learning, RPA, IoT, whatnot. Right. So it also opens the door to cloud adoption, including RISE with SAP, which bundles infrastructure, software, services into a single contract. With the S/4HANA, you are not just upgrading, you are future-proofing your business. So in summary, migrating to SAP S/4HANA positions your company to be a more agile, data-driven, and ready for the future. The sooner you begin the journey, the better prepared you will be to stay competitive in the rapidly changing market. So before diving into the S/4HANA migration path, what are the different options available for you to choose, right? So it is critical to understand that one size doesn't fit all. SAP offers three core migration approaches, and the right one depends on your current system landscape, data quality, customization level, and maybe your transformation goals, right? Let's explore each approach with a real world scenario. So if we talk about the greenfield approach, the very first thing, right? So it's like constructing a new home, right? It's a new implementation. This is a complete re-implementation of SAP. As if you are starting fresh, you build a new business process in SAP S/4HANA and migrate only clean record master and transaction data. Most likely the historical data will not be migrated in that case. Right? For example, let's say a global retail chain which is running outdated, heavily customized SAP ECC systems across multiple regions. Instead of replicating legacy inefficiencies, they choose a greenfield approach to redesign their core processes and consolidated everything onto a single global S/4HANA instance. The second approach is a brownfield approach. That's basically a system conversion. So yeah, so it can be considered as a technical upgrade also. Brownfield is that's a technical upgrade from your current ECC system. So it's not applicable for if you're having a non-SAP applications or any other versions of ECC SAP system. So your existing business processes, data, and configurations are preserved as it is, and only what needs to be adapted, like a custom code or a simplification items, that is the only thing is going to change. For example, a manufacturing company using ECC 6.0 with a well-optimized process in ECC itself, right? And a decent data hygiene might choose a brownfield, so everything will be migrated as it is. So they don't want to disrupt the business continuity, but still want to benefit from SAP S/4HANA innovations like Fiori apps and Universal Journal kind of things. So the third option is a hybrid. That's basically a selective data transition. So it's a combination of brownfield and greenfield. So this is a custom flexible migration approach where you selectively move business units, modules, or time-bound data to S/4HANA. It is best suited, for large enterprises with the complex systems or phased transformation goals. Okay, for example, a utility company with operations across 10 countries may want to move to North America, maybe only a specific region, North America region to SAP S/4HANA, while keeping Europe on ECC for another year. Okay, using selective data transition, they migrate only relevant master data and open items for North America. They don't need to migrate all the historical data. So overall, a greenfield is best for radical process transformation. Brownfield suites for stable SAP ECC users looking for a technical upgrade. Selective data transition works for phased rollouts and enterprise scale transformations. So yeah, so I mean, of course, so we help with all these three approaches, so we can accelerate any of these migration paths. So let's get into the SAP S/4HANA migration roadmap. Okay, so that starts with the data acquisition, right? So the data acquisition is, but extracting the data from SAP ECC or legacy non-SAP applications for the data profiling, right? So the journey begins with the data acquisition, where changes connects to your SAP ECC or legacy or non-SAP systems using our pre-built connectors, whether it is SAP ECC or Oracle EBS or MS Dynamics, or it could be any other major ERP applications. We do have more than 10,000 adapters overall for major ERP applications. So the platform securely extracts the data across modules like finance, supply chain, HR, and more. I mean, so whatever configured in the local system, right? So everything will be extracted with full audit traceability. Okay. So the very next step is the data assessment. So so when we do the data assessment, so we have a powerful data profiling engine, so that is AI enabled. So changes leverages AI to automatically profile the data, so highlighting the missing fields, duplicates, data anomalies, and compliance gaps. So the dashboards also will be provided to illustrate the readiness scores across business areas, helping the identify the data risk early before they impact the data migration. So basically, so as part of it, missing critical columns, address related potential quality issues, all the potential duplicates, and the dependency. So if I take a master data, if there are any transactions data associated with it, okay, so is the master data is active, or what are all the master data which never had any transactions, or they never had any transactions for last 3 years or 5 years, right? So everything will be provided as part of the data assessment. So the very next step will be the data cleansing. So when we say data cleansing, so when we say data cleansing, that's a AI powered rules will be rules engines detect and correct data issues like inconsistencies, and if there are any outdated general ledger accounts, so everything will be identified. And so whatever we have identified in the previous phase as part of the data assessment, all those things can be rectified with the in the data cleansing phase. So the rules can be the automated rules can be applied. Okay, so you will get the confirmation from the user. That's part of the workflow. So that will be the next thing as part of data approval. Okay, in the data consolidation, so once we identify all the potential duplicates, so what do we do with that? Like so who will be the victim, who will be the survivor, right? So after identifying all those records, so the data will be consolidated. So if you have the same customer, if you have the same material in 5 different source applications, or within the source application, if there are duplicate records, it's all will be consolidated. You will have a clean data. So you have done the cleansing, you have done the data consolidation, and it will go to the next step, data approval. So before loading begins, data approval is essential. Changes provides a governance workflows where the data owners validate the transformed mapped data sets. Audit logs, change tracking, and validation reports ensure the accountability and accuracy. That's all part of inbuilt workflow. And the next step will be the data loading. So now we proceed to the data loading. So changes support multiple load methods. And all these load adapters are parallel processing enabled. So basically, these pre-built templates. So we have for SAP, we have more than 2,000 pre-built templates. So when we go for any migration, we don't need to develop anything for the data migration. We can just connect to the system and we can start loading the data. So except the custom or Z fields that need to be handled separately for all the standard objects or standard tables or standard columns. So we do have the pre-built templates available. So these inbuilt parallel processing mechanism accelerates the data loading. So data volume will never be an issue for us. Okay. And the final thing is the data reconciliation. So data reconciliation also, it's a part of the workflow. It's all pre-built within the workflow. So I have seen this is a very challenging thing in many migration projects. When we used when we have seen the customers try to use the other products, right? So reconciliation is a separate project itself, like so they were struggling to get the data from the source application, from the target application, then trying to reconcile manually, and they were taking more business users time. Okay, so in changes platform, changes automatically compare source versus target using a record level validation. Any mismatches are flagged for quick resolution. So you'll get the detailed reconciliation report that clearly shows, okay, what are the gaps between these, what was extracted from the source, and what was loaded into the target. After that roadmap, okay, so let's talk about the hidden risks in the SAP migration. So these are the main challenges or risk, okay, when you are migrating. So let's talk about the single biggest factor that determines whether the success or failure of your SAP S/4HANA migration. So the very first step is uh, considering reality of the enterprises data today, right? Most organizations are dealing with the data sprawl or fragmented silos, inconsistent data quality, and a lot of redundant or outdated information. This chaotic landscape makes it extremely difficult to ensure accurate business reporting, right? So our efficient operations. So now if you are planning to use a brownfield migration where you retain some of the elements of your existing SAP system, the risk grow even further. Why? Because you may end up migrating a dirty data that is basically incomplete or duplicate or non-standard records from the source application into a clean modern S4 system, right? Not only does this comprise system performance, and it also causes unnecessary complexity, right? Especially when you are dealing with the large volumes of historical data. So why do we need to migrate historical data? For example, SAP ECC system, it was implemented like 20 years ago. They went live on 1998 or 2000, 2005, whatever, right? So they may have 20 years of data, 25 years of data, historical data, all the purchase orders, sales orders, and everything on the system. So these volumes can significantly impact the data conversion timelines and inflate your total cost of ownership when we go for S4HANA. So of course, I mean, the hardware related, the HANA hardware is going to be expensive. And so migrating all these historical data is going to impact the total cost of ownership, right? And here's the real challenge. So most teams are still stuck with the manual approaches to mapping and cleansing the data. So these tasks are time consuming, prone to error, and heavily dependent on tribal knowledge, right? Ultimately, this leads to a high risk of project delays and budget overruns with last minute surprises showing up during testing or go live. All of these points to to the urgent need, what it shows, like, so basically there is a need for a smarter approach, right? So traditional data appropriation methods simply don't scale. What is needed is automation, intelligence, and a platform that helps you assess and clean data before you start building anything in S4HANA, right? So these are the typical challenges. So if we start with the mapping challenges, right? So there are multiple phases in the mapping challenges. It is not just like apple to apple, right? So when we migrating from ECC to SAP or non-SAP to S4HANA, right? So business process mapping is the very first thing. Like it is a order to cash or procure to pay or record to receipt or hire to rotate. If you take any business process mapping, so that business process has to be mapped between these two ERP applications. And then the business object mapping, then whether it is a purchase order or a material master or a customer master, so the business object has to be mapped. Then the next level is organization structure mapping. We have to map company codes, storage locations, plants, sales organizations, division. So multiple, let's say, organization components has to be mapped. Then the table mapping comes into picture. Like if we take a material master, Mara, Marcy, MARD, MBWs, all these material related tables, for an example. So the table level mapping, then the column level mapping, then column level. So if I take a Mara, so MATN or material number, base unit of measure, material group, metal type, MRP. So all these columns need to be mapped. Then finally the value mapping comes into picture. So if I take a unit of measure, so I have mapped a unit of measure. So in the source, I have different unit of measures, how it will be mapped with the new S4HANA unit of measures. So suppose if I'm migrating from non-SAP systems, right? So we have 5 to 6 levels of mapping. So this requires extensive discussion on the I mean, basically the mapping workshops has to be conducted to identify the mappings between the source and target applications. Then the extraction data challenges, right? So as I mentioned earlier, like, so we are talking about a huge data volumes. How do you segregate? I mean, how do you identify what data will be migrated? So when you have 20 plus years of data in the source application, how do you identify what to be migrated? Only the open items. So in the master data, are you going to migrate everything? Are you going to migrate inactive customers or inactive materials, inactive vendors? Are you going to migrate materials that never had any transactions for like last 10 years? Are you going to migrate those materials, right? So those kind of questions arise when you're extracting the data, right? And of course, once you identify that, like, you need extract programs, you need technical experts. At least it'll take a month of time to develop all the extraction programs, and extracting the long text and all the attachments related to the sales order or purchase order. It's all going to be challenging part, right? And of course, when you have a large volume of data, you have to consider the CDC, the change data capture enable also, right? The next thing, the challenges are related to the cleansing duplicates records. Excuse me. Duplicate records like a customers, vendors, material. How do you identify all the duplicates records? So are you going to migrate all the duplicates records as it is? So you are supposed to consolidate them into unique records, right? So that's going to be a challenging thing as part of data cleansing. And inactive records. How do you identify inactive records? What customers or what materials or vendors had transactions for last 3 years or 5 years or 10 years? So that need to be identified to identify an active master data that need to be migrated. Then of course, as part of incompleteness, missing postal code, missing city, missing country, all these critical address, key informations are missing as part of incompleteness. The currency, payment term, city, all these things need to be addressed as well. So in the incorrect data, invalid email, invalid phone number, those all needs to be addressed, right? The next thing is the transformation. So when you're migrating data, for example, in SAP ECC, or maybe let's take Oracle EBS. When I'm migrating from Oracle eBusiness Suite, a simple example, length constraints. So I can have in SAP, the work center length is 8 characters. In Oracle, I can have any number of characters. Same way with the production order or the material number, right? So these need to be renumbered, or they have to even change the number for the work centers, or renamed, right? And the unit of measure consolidation, that itself is going to be a big challenge in the transformation, right? And certain things are, so one typical example in SAP, in Oracle EBS, you can have different unit of measures. Per inventory, per plant, you can have different unit of measures. That's not the case in SAP. So of course, you have to consolidate per material one single unit of measure. And of course, in the source, you may have, if it is a non-SAP applications, you may have challenges with the special characters, spaces, and other things that also need to be addressed when you are bringing it to SAP. The next thing is the loading related challenges. So as we mentioned, like if you are migrating huge data volume, it's going to be a challenging thing. So you have to, you should be able to predict the cutover window. And of course, the error reprocessing, that should be accounted as well. Like if there are any errors while loading the data into the application, right? So how do we can address them? So how many times you are going to reprocess them, right? So how early you are able to detect the possible errors, right? So that will reduce the error reprocessing timeline. Okay. The last thing is the challenges with the reconciliations and validations. Like, suppose before loading the data, you need validate the data. Before loading the data into target, you need someone to validate the data and approve it, right? Maybe from the business. So you are taking their time, of course, right? After loading the data into the target application, you need to validate what was extracted from the source application, and is it loaded correctly into the SAP SAP S/4HANA, right? So the post-load validation is also okay. And the next thing is the data reconciliation. For the audit purposes, you need the reconciliation reports, what was extracted, how it was transformed, and so for that, data reconciliation reports are required. The final thing is the testing, like user training. So like if you are expecting business people to validate it in the target system, of course they have to be trained on the target application, right? So these are the major challenges what you'll encounter when we go for SAP migration. And let me quickly walk through how we are leveraging AI capabilities in the data assessment to identify all the potential data quality issues ahead of the time. And then we'll talk about the data, how we are leveraging AI in the data cleansing and data mapping as well. Okay. So in the data assessment space, okay, so we leverage AI capabilities. I mean, we embedded, we have our own LLM model. So we leverage our data profiling engine to identify all the potential data quality issues. So if we start with automated data profiling, so AI can rapidly scan large volume of data across multiple systems, and it can identify incomplete or inconsistent fields, duplicate records, often master data, outliers and anomalies in transaction data. So for example, AI powered tools like changes data SAP can automatically, so it can detect up to 35% of the middle master records are missing a key fields like a unit of measure or evaluation class, or 45% of the customer master records are missing city or postal code kind of critical information. So those kind of things can be identified as part of the automated data profiling. Data quality scoring and dashboards, like so after our data assessment, right, so we will be providing the dashboards. So the AI model assign quality scores to each data set, like for customer master, general ledger, purchase order. So this helps prioritize what data needs to be clean first. So in which sequence we have to start, and it also measures S/4HANA readiness by module, by sales and distribution, material management, or production planning. Okay. And semantic matching and value mapping. So AI algorithms use NLP processing and semantic algorithms to match legacy fields values to SAP S/4HANA compatible ones. So in case of ECC to S/4, most likely it is going to be straightforward, right? So the challenge comes in place when we have a non-SAP application. That's where we are leveraging AI capabilities. Okay. And a custom code and field usage detection. So we can deal with the standard tables, standard columns. That's that mapping could be pretty straightforward. What do we do with the custom fields? So that's where AI analyzes what kind of data stored in the custom fields or custom tables, right? So how that can be mapped with the target S/4HANA columns, right? So that's where we are using AI capabilities. So the cross-system data lineage discovery. So for non-SAP sources like Oracle, EBS, or Microsoft Dynamics, or flat files, AI builds end-to-end lineage maps of how data flows and transforms across the systems. This allows us to spot inconsistencies across sources, identify duplicate logic across applications, harmonize structures for unified loading to S/4HANA. So it's not like I'm not just talking about one source application. It's more than one. Okay. So the next thing is the predictive cleansing recommendations. Using historical data issues, AI recommends cleansing actions such as removing inactive customers, or standardizing payment terms, archiving old documents not touched in years. These recommendations improve trust in the data being migrated. So if there are historical data more than 7 years old or more than 10 years old, right? So those can be eliminated. Those can be archived before even migrating to target application. Then the readiness automation workflows. Some AI-enabled tools generate readiness checklist like automatically. So like mandatory S/4HANA data model fields not filled. For example, customer vendor integration. Let's talk about CVI. In SAP ECC, you have customers separately, vendors separately. They are not associated with the business partner, right? So, but when you go for S4 HANA, that is a mandatory. So those kind of things can be identified as part of this. Okay. So, I mean, overall, to summarize, like, this AI enhances speed, scale, and precision in assessing the data across ECC or non-SAP systems. So this reduces the manual effort in many places, not only in the migration space, in the reconciliation space also. And the next thing is the data cleansing. So data cleansing is one of the most critical and time-consuming phases in the S4HANA migration journey. So that's why we recommend our clients to start this as early as possible. Okay, the Changes platform leverages advanced AI to not only to identify the data quality issues, but to intelligently resolve them across master and transactional and custom data sets. The platform then provides cleansing recommendations based on the data domains. For example, merging duplicate customer and vendor records, normalizing inconsistent field values. For example, if I take a country, some customers may have country as a USA, some customer may have country as a US, or some customer companies may have a private limited, some companies names are with the PVT, LTD kind of things. Right? These kind of inconsistencies will be normalized. Okay, before even doing the data consolidation. Okay, correcting their tax jurisdictions or GL assignments or unit of measure consolidation. It's all will be part of the data cleansing exercise. So Changes does not just automate, it collaborates, like basically, because of course we need business decisions in many cases, right? So we will provide a powerful workflow so the business can directly look into the data. They can approve if the data corrections, whatever happened is as expected. Okay. So once cleansed, the data flows seamlessly into AI-assisted mapping engines, ready for transformation into the S/4HANA data model. So this tight integration eliminates rework and ensures consistency across migration pipeline. Every cleansing action is logged, versioned, or auditable, giving your team full transparency. Dashboards show the data quality improvements over time. So what was the data quality before the data cleansing? I mean, with the raw data, right? And after the data cleansing, what is the current data quality? So we'll have dashboards that shows progressive. Okay. The Changes platform uses AI not only to clean your data. This is a summary, right? So, but also not only identifying the quality issues, to also they address the quality issues. Okay. The data mapping. So data mapping is also one of the most critical steps in the S4HANA migration, right? So it ensures the legacy data, whether from SAP ECC or non-SAP systems, is accurately transformed or aligned to the S4HANA data model. So in this phase, source fields such as customer numbers, material codes, and chart of accounts are mapped to their respective S4HANA equivalent. This involves understanding both the technical structures and business semantics. With the introduction of the universal journal, business partner concept, and simplified tables, legacy structures must be retaught and intelligently mapped. So if I take Oracle e-business suite, right? If I'm migrating from Oracle e-business suite to SAP S/4HANA, so they are different ERPs. They have completely, different architectures. We have to do the mapping exercises, table level mapping, column level mapping, value level mapping, multi-level mapping has to be done, right? So this AI understands the column descriptions from from the different source applications, and it automates the mapping, like so I mean, of course we need another pair of eyes need to review it, like we need to align with the business. Okay, this is the mapping. Okay, but we don't need to start from the scratch. So AI provides a standard mapping based on the value set and the descriptions of the columns. Accurate data mapping not only ensures data integrity during migration, but also it enables a faster, smoother go live with a minimal rework. So, I mean, so done right, it lays the foundation for reporting, compliance, and operational excellence in the S/4HANA system. And the next thing, so finally, I mean, the best practices for a successful migration. So when it comes to data migration, especially for S/4HANA, success is not just about moving data, right? So it is about moving the right data in the right way. Let's walk through the best practices that ensure a smooth and effective migration. The very first thing, what I would say, choosing the right partner and tools is critical. Your migration journey is only as good as the technology you use, and the people you are, who is guiding you. That's also important, right? So Changes offers a proven platform with the pre-built templates, accelerators, and AI-powered automation, ensuring that you don't reinvent the wheel and minimize the risk. The second thing, you must understand your data well in advance. This means profiling your data, identifying the legacy duplicates, unmapped custom objects, or outdated records, all of which could compromise your new system. So with tools like DataZap and DataZen, you can gain deep insights early in the process. Third one, focus on planning and preparation. Migrations are complex, so a phased approach, detailed cutover plans, and a solid stakeholder alignment are essential. Our platform supports rehearsal runs and mock conversions to help fine-tune everything before go live. The fourth one is the emphasize data quality, cleaning, transformation, and pre-validation. Dirty data is one of the biggest reasons projects fail. That's why Changes enables rule-based cleansing, transformation logic, and automated validations before even thinking about loading the data into the target system. And finally, reconciliations, validations, and testing must be rigorous. Post-load comparisons, exception handling, and iterative testing help ensure business continuity. So Changes provides built-in tools for reconciliation reports and analytics dashboards to support go live with a confidence. So the reconciliation, we don't need to necessarily involve business people for the reconciliations. So it's all pre-built reconciliation reports will be generated. So these are the best practices provides a path for a successful migration to S/4HANA. So these are metrics for a successful migration. So when we leverage Changes platform and its AI capabilities, right? So this is the result what we were able to achieve for some of our customers. So now let's take a closer look at the key metrics that define truly a successful S/4HANA migration, and how leveraging a platform like Changes can help you consistently hit these targets, right? First, we have data migration accuracy at 99%. This is crucial, right? Migrating inaccurate data or incomplete data can cripple your new system from day one. So Changes ensures high accuracy through built-in AI validation, preload checks, and reconciliation routines, dramatically reducing manual errors. Okay. Next, we have process automation rate. So almost 85% of things are automated, except maybe where we are involving business users for validation or for their approval. Remaining all data flows are automated. So this reflects how much of the end-to-end data pipeline is automated, from data acquisition to mapping, cleansing, enrichment, and data loading. So with the Changes pre-built templates, the rules engine, repetitive tasks are automated completely, freeing up your team to focus on exceptions and governance. So if there are any specific errors or one or any specific case that is not covered, right? So only those things where we need business users or your IT team attention. Okay, the rest of all the things are automated. The next thing is the end user satisfaction that hits 90%, because when the migration is smooth, the data is clean, the business processes runs as expected, users are confident in the system. So Changes enables better collaboration with across business and IT by offering a visibility and approvals at every stage of this process. So time to go live is optimized by 75%. So thanks to accelerated test cycles, automated mock runs that reduced defect rates. All right. So by eliminating data-related delays, teams can stick to the the planned timeline. We don't need to go for a extended timeline. Okay. So finally, we are looking at the around 70% of the improvement in the cost savings. So this comes from a combination of reduced man hours or less rework or less data reprocessing, okay, and reduced business disruption. So we are able to save at least 70% of the cost for the end-to-end data migration. Okay, together these metrics are not just KPIs, they are proof points. They demonstrate that when you prioritize data quality and automation, success becomes measurable and repeatable. So this is a bit tedious slide. Maybe this shows the end-to-end process in detail. Okay, so where we are leveraging AI as well. So this slide illustrates the complete end-to-end data migration flow powered by Changes platform, and where we are leveraging data Zap, data Zen, data Zen's platform. I mean the components of platform. The process is broken into 5 critical stages: assessment, enrich and approve, load and validate. Okay, so this enables organizations to move from raw legacy data to clean business ready data inside SAP S/4HANA. So the very first stage is data acquisition. So this process it starts with a data acquisition. Basically, that's extracting the data from multiple source applications, including unstructured data. If you have some unstructured data, that's also possible. Okay. Then, so we will be leveraging the legacy extract adapters to extract the data. Then the data will be loaded into the staging area. That's where the data profiling is going to happen. So the data AI-enabled data profiling engine identifies all the potential data quality issues. Then the remediation phases. So in the remediation phase, all the cleansing, data standardization, data enrichment, data consolidation, all those activities will happen. Once the clean data is ready, then it will be sent for the data approval. Once the user is approved it, then the data will be loaded into the target application, and the loaded data will be extracted and it will be reconciled also. So this is an end-to-end approach. All right, so I think we have covered how we are leveraging artificial intelligence capabilities for the data extraction, from data extraction, data assessment, and the data mapping and the data cleansing phases. Thank you all for staying with us throughout today's session on SAP S/4HANA migration. So we have covered a lot of ground. So from understanding the challenges of traditional migrations to seeing how AI accelerates readiness, improves quality, and delivers measurable business value. Now I'd like to open the floor for your questions. Whether you'd like to ask about how changes integrates with your current landscape, or how AI handles transformation logic, or how to kickstart your assessment, or so any kind of question, like so let's dive into the Q&A. Over to you, Mahik.
Yes. Thank you so much, Priya, for that informative and fulfilling session. There was a lot to take in from, the AI powered data mapping strategies and how significantly, you inculcate things into the process to accelerate migrations and, the different scenarios and the different platforms that go into it. So we're taking in questions from our audience, and if you haven't already, go ahead and drop your questions and we will get them answered. So, Priya, we have our first question.
Please go ahead.
How early should we start data assessment before initiating an S/4HANA migration?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. I mean, whoever asked the question, but you should have already started. Okay, so ideally, data assessment should begin at least I would recommend like 6 months or 12 months before the actual migration project starts. Okay, so because early assessment helps to uncover data quality issues, redundant or obsolete data, or unmapped Z tables, so everything can be identified, right? So we can leverage Changes data Zap, data Zens that can do a detailed profiling. So you will get a clear picture of the scope, what to be migrated as part of the data migration. So what am I talking about? I'm going to migrate 2 TB of data, 5 TB of data to S/4HANA. So you'll get that clear picture. So the sooner is better. So at least 6 months or 1 year before you start migrating to S4HANA.
Thank you. Um, there's another question, which is what types of data can be handled by the Changes platform? Is it only SAP ECC data?
Oh, okay. So, okay. So now we were just focusing on SAP related products. That's why we were just more focused on SAP ECC to SAP S4 migration. But so we can handle changes supports both SAP and non-SAP systems. So we have more than 200 endpoints. So basically the application connectors. So it can be Oracle E-Business Suites, PeopleSoft, JD Edwards, or Bond, or it can be any ERP application or any RDBMS systems, any databases, or it can be that uses or any REST API used web applications. That could be any source. Okay, it's not limited to SAP. Okay, so we can change this platform can extract data from any application. So, but the templates what we have is for major ERP applications. So the pre-built template are basically the extract adapters are readily available for all the major ERP applications.
The next question is, can this approach work for both greenfield and brownfield migrations?
Oh, that's a great question. Thank you. So, there are multiple approaches, right? Greenfield, brownfield, and there is a hybrid approach also that combines both greenfield, brownfield. So where it can be a brownfield, but still you can just go with your choice of data. So Changes supports all these three approaches: greenfield, brownfield, and hybrid approach also. Okay. So suppose if you're going with a greenfield, so you can extract only the clean master data after the duplicate removal, after only the active master data, and only the open transactions can be migrated. So you'll have, when we go for S4 HANA, you'll have a clean data. Suppose if you are planning to go with the brownfield or a hybrid approach, right? So there we can help with by eliminating the unwanted data, like the historical records, and inactive master data. All those can be eliminated before you are migrating to S4 HANA. So to answer your question, like we support both greenfield and brownfield migrations.
The next question is, how do you handle custom Z tables or user-defined fields during AI-based data mapping?
Oh, okay. So that's a, yeah, I mean, that's a interesting question. Like, so Z tables, I mean, the custom fields, that's one of the challenging thing in any data migration, like, because for the standard columns you can find a mapping easily. So for the custom attributes, what are you going to do? Are you going to have a same custom column? Are you going to create it in S4 HANA as well, right? So that's where the mapping has to be done extensively. I mean, separately. We need to discuss with the business to understand the purpose of the custom field, what kind of data stored in it. Is there an equivalent column available in S4HANA, so the mapping can be done that way? AI function, I mean, AI assessment provides that insight also. What kind of patterns or what kind of data stored in that specific column, how it can be mapped with the S4HANA target column, right? So AI helps there as well. So all the standard columns will be handled as part of the migration. The custom attributes will understand the value patterns and the metadata and the usage frequency, right? Based on those factors, we'll be deciding how the mapping will be done. Yeah.
Okay. And for our it's our last question. What's the approach to harmonize master data across multiple source systems before migrating to S4HANA?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So many of our customers are having that kind of challenges. So when you are dealing with one ECC system or one Oracle system, like one source application, so it's going to be just a one-to-one, right? So what will happen when you have multiple legacy applications? So you need to consolidate the data. You may have the same customers in multiple systems with different attributes. You may have same materials in different systems with the different attributes. Like the consolidation is required. So when dealing with multiple source systems, okay, Changes platforms, we do a cross-system profiling to identify overlapping entities and inconsistencies. Okay, so AI-powered matching engines, help detect duplicates across platforms using fuzzy logic or semantic similarity and business rule filters. So basically, a harmonization layer consolidates the data with a survivorship logic. So I have a customer with a transaction posted recently or recently created customer. So based on business rule filters, the data, the survivorship logic will be applied and the survivor will be chosen. So that clean data will be migrated. So that basically a clean harmonized data will be migrated to SAP S/4HANA.
Thank you so much, Priya. That brings us to the end of this session. So thank you for sharing your expertise and your real world insights. I'm pretty sure that our attendees could learn more about taking the next step in their SAP S/4HANA migration journey and have fewer risks and a lot more speed. So if you have any follow-up questions or you would want a personalized demo, feel free to reach out to Chances and we will get your questions answered and your demos presented. So until next time, let's stay connected and innovative, and we will see you at the next Chances webinar. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you once again.